What's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we are going to be talking about the Bitcoin price chart, along with the altcoin market, while having a bigger perspective view on where Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market is right now, with Bitcoin up here teetering near its previous all-time highs. Most narratives throughout there take a look at this and say, hey, what happened the last time we were at the previous all-time high? What happened to Bitcoin after we got there? Worked out the zone? Well, it kept on going. What happened in 2016 and 17? Had to work out the previous all-time high, then boom, it just kept on going. There's been no doubt I have expressed a different opinion on the state of Bitcoin rather than just being previous four-year cycles, block reward halvings, and that it's really just one big giant liquidity trade with the United States stock market and Bitcoin. Heck, you can even see the correlation between copper, the metal, copper, and Bitcoin in regards to bull market, stall, crash, consolidation, rallying. It's really just one giant liquidity game. And I know there's a lot of narratives out there for the halving is going to melt faces. Oh, we can go on timetables based on previous Bitcoin cycles and whatnot. But one thing that's been interesting over the last several years has been the data that has come out regarding on-chain with Bitcoin. And I've talked about it a lot, that the altcoin market and Bitcoin are all acting as if it's much further along in the cycle than Bitcoin just being back at its previous all-time high like it was back in 2020, but much more that what's going on in here is actually like being in here. We've talked about that with the price action of Bitcoin, that it's actually acting exactly like here we are in January and February of 2021, which is right here, January of 2021. But that the altcoin market is acting the same too. That right here in January, on January 10th of 2021, the altcoin market hit its retraces levels. Right here in 2024, the altcoin market hits its retrace levels. So not only do we have the altcoin market getting to the same location at the same time, same phenomenon, price action the same, but I wanted to show you this over here because I've seen people post about this on Twitter. I've seen TXMC post about this on Twitter, and this is called the Bitcoin Value Days Destroyed Multiple. This chart is from Glassnode, and we could see that the Value Days Destroyed Multiple compares near-term spending behavior to the yearly average as a means of detecting overheated and undervalued markets. Its effectiveness is due to the nature of how market tops are formed via the increasing spending of older coins that eventually overpower demand, meaning coins that come alive, that have been sitting dormant to be sold when all this new demand comes in. Bitcoin ETFs, we're at the halving, but yet somehow supply makes its way to the market, ending euphoric bull runs. Conversely, as older coins remain dormant and accumulation begins, this metric will decline and bottom during capitulation events and periods of accumulation. So as we could see on this chart, as we got near the peaks there in 2012 and 2013, we could see coins come out, value days destroyed, older coins come and hit to the market, and we could see at the bottom of bears, no older coins are coming out to be spent. We get back into a heated market, the coins come out to be spent, and we go into a bear and much lower. Go back to the highs, boom, out come the coins to get spent, and then no new coins are coming back into the market. But what we see here is an extreme value is above 2.9, which historically prints at or just before cycle peaks, when market activity is at its highest and many coins are changing hands. If it's above a 1.4, it denotes that the market is heating up. And if it's below 0.75, it means we're usually in a bear market and when accumulation is actually happening. So again, going back to this and talking about, hey, look, the altcoin market hits the retrace levels, the altcoin market hits the retrace levels, price behavior is acting very similar to as if we're not at the previous all-time highs, but if we're actually in here, it's the same kind of correction going on in here that we're showing here. But this is the interesting thing to look at too, is to look at what is happening with the older coins. Are they coming out to be spent? And as we can see, this metric has flashed the extreme highs that we have seen throughout all of Bitcoin's history. Notice when we got back to the all-time high here back in 2016 and 17, it was not flashing. Notice when we got back to the all-time high over here in 2020, it had not flashed yet. But once we made that next leg, we got into January, it started flashing. Notice in 2016 and 17, once we got to the next legs, it started flashing. But then really that next one, that's where it started printing this high of a level. And so let's talk about what it meant the last several times, right? In 2013, it actually was triggering once the top of Bitcoin had already come in. So it got up to the peak. It was flashing red, but its actual true peak came in once that crash had already taken place. Then over here in 2013, it flashed right up near the peak, and then that was the end of it, right? So in 2012 and 2013, this was the actual topping signal that happened. However, we got a little bit of a different signal over here in 2017 and in 2021. It actually marked the moment before the last run and the moment before the last run back in 2017 and in 2020. So we'll zoom in on that really quick. Let's first talk about 2020 right in here. So I'll just grab that. And you can see how much it flashed right in here after the break of the all-time high, getting into January of 2021, which is what we keep talking about in here. Notice right now, we're flashing that here in this same rally like we did back in 2021. Again, this does not flash this high with this much value days destroyed when you're just getting back to the all-time high or when you're just getting back into the all-time high, but it happens when you're way further along. Either you're at the top, or at the last correction before the blow off, or the last correction before the blow off, in which this was really the last correction before the blow off here in 2021. If you recall, this is the moment where Tesla announces that they've added Bitcoin to the balance sheet. We shoot off, and then that's really the end of the market at that point. And one could technically argue, if you look back in here, this is all still just kind of one cycle happening in here, right? This is April of 2013, and then it's November and December that it goes on and does this. So it kind of flashes it in the last correction before the blow off. And so really in 2013, it was the signal of the last correction before the blow off. In 2017, the last correction before the blow off, and in 2021, the last correction before the blow off. So again, looking back to 2021, we can see that price behavior in here back in January, very similar to what we have seen so far. But one of the also interesting things that I've noticed as well is if we actually go back to 2017, because if we actually zoom out and look at all of this combined, we can see, hey, we've only flashed this high of a signal over here with old coins coming out 4 times prior to this to reach this metric level. If we look at 2017, it's actually interesting because we hit that level here, right? Zooming out again, that's right here to get this high, right? Here we are here in 2024, there's 2021, there's 2017, and here's the 2 times in 2013. This one right here in August of 2017, we'll just grab that little one. You can see that's what we're doing. We'll zoom out. We'll zoom out. That one. You can see that old coins came out, overpowering demand, which we were in an epic rally. But zooming in on that a little bit more, does this look familiar? Does this look familiar to what we've actually been talking about here on the YouTube channel for a little while now? This particular correction happening right here. And let me go grab Bitcoin's chart, because that correction is right here, which you could see right here. That big correction that happens before the final rally takes place. That one. That one. Even closer. That one. And we'll go even closer, because I mean that one. Does that look familiar to something we've been talking about on the channel? That! What we've been talking about happening with the market, with the altcoin market. The aggressive ABC correction that has happened in here. This exact correction, exact price behavior has all happened here in the market, with the exact same correction when we have the value days destroyed happening in the market here in 2024, just as we did there in 2017 before the final rally happened. And as we're having the value days destroyed right there in that rally, just as we did in 2021 before the final rally, and then Bitcoin doing the same price behavior as it did. So you have Bitcoin mirroring that same behavior from 2021, and then you have the altcoin market mirroring that same behavior from 2017 as it was before the final rally. Now, this isn't a prediction to say there is some big giant final rally, but it's again to kind of show all those things of being like, we're much further along than people think we are. The market is not like we are back at the all-time high or the all-time high as we sit here right now, but it's acting as if it's already done a monster epic rally already of euphoria where retail goes wild. And this doesn't flash at the all-time high. This flashes much further. So we talk a lot about this stuff with the United States stock market. The Dow and the NASDAQ have hit these 4.236 extensions. When you look at the breadth of the actual market in here, of what has taken place here in this final rally, there's been a lack of participation throughout the broader market. It is incredibly consolidated throughout the market, with the top market caps sucking in all of the capital, and all mid caps and low caps just getting absolutely decimated in here, with the Russell 2000 not even above its 50% retracement, whereas you have things like the Dow Jones Industrial Average sitting way up here. I've gone through that many times. I've shown expansions that have happened throughout the market for 2013, 2017, and 2021's bull runs. All those elements are completely missing. And for all of Bitcoin's big runs, they've happened during periods where the Fed funds rate is at zero, credit conditions are super loose. The only time through Bitcoin's history we have anything remotely like this, where the Fed funds rate's up and we're sitting here waiting for a cutting cycle to happen. It happens right here. So at the same time, it's having to be incredibly cautious that we're not making this same type of structure here in Bitcoin as we did in that retracement currently right now, along with the fact that Bitcoin is literally at its 4.236 extension from 2017 to 2018. It's right there. And so when we look at this and we look at the signal being flashed by the value days destroyed, and mind you, this is the only one we're looking at. There's lots of different on-chain signals that are similar to this exact time point. But when this signal has flashed historically, it has meant one of two things. One, the top of Bitcoin is in. Or two, there's one rally left. And this one back here, the very first time it ever flashed, you could say it was a mix of both. It meant the top was in, and then the price crashed to 85%. But then later that year, then went on to go 4 times the height. And then it actually marked the true top 7 months later. Or you could say it marked the rally prior, right? So this thing flashing has only meant one of two things ever to get to this height. It meant either the top was in or we were in the last correction before the final rally happened. This signal has not flashed and then said, hey, we still have a year and a half left because we just did the block reward halving. When it happened here in January of 2021, it signaled we had 3 months remaining. When it happened here in August and September of 2017, it meant we had 3 months remaining. Now, in both circumstances, it actually meant there was 4 months remaining for the altcoin market. And if you've been curious of why I've been like, it doesn't really matter to me for Bitcoin, because here's that moment in August and September of 2017 versus the altcoin market. And here's that moment in January of 2021 for Bitcoin versus the altcoin market. In 2017, Bitcoin got an earlier lead over the altcoin market. In 2021, Bitcoin did not. We could see price action happening very similar to 2021 here for Bitcoin. And then we see price action happening very similar to 2017 for the altcoin market. Everyone is welcome to place their bets and make their own decisions. Is this the top? Is this the rally prior to the top? Up to you. But I think the point of it is to really show all the price action behavior and the on-chain behavior signals are much further along. And I don't think that is the general narrative when it comes to crypto Twitter or when it comes to YouTube. I'm not here to predict the future by showing you this, but I'm here to show you here is what the past did. These are the data points that we have to look at. And then everybody is welcome to explain it away with whatever narrative they want. Bitcoin ETFs, Grayscale's moving Bitcoin, whatever we need. Similar to Tesla adding to their balance sheet at the top. How could you be bearish? Tesla's adding. All these companies are adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet. It was the top, right? It didn't really matter. But I find it fascinating, and I wanted to show it to you. The last 2 times we have flashed something of this magnitude, it did signal we were in the final correction before the final push happened for the market. In neither circumstance did it give us a number that Bitcoin went to afterwards. So I'm not here to say, hey, it's going to go to 80K or it's going to go to 100 or that it's not just going to go just barely touch 75, right? But anytime this is flashed, it marked the absolute peak or the rally prior to the absolute peak. And for that, I think we're much further than most people think. Not to mention that the altcoin market also hit its retracement levels at the same place as it did in 2021 when that happened, right there. And one other thing that does corroborate it, and I talked about this when I actually gave a presentation in Australia, And I actually recorded that YouTube video a couple of weeks ago that was like 45 minutes long, where I essentially gave 70% of the presentation here in a YouTube video showing the length of the cycles in crypto, and that the reality is this is the cycle in crypto. Yes, you get a little new high in here, but it's just like what's happening over there in the United States stock market, where it's very isolated, it's very condensed, and the breadth is terrible. 90% of the cryptocurrency market topped right here. Only a select basket of assets go on and set new highs there in November, as the breadth went to absolute trash, and that it's not really 4-year cycles in here. But if you actually look how much time has elapsed in here, we're even showing the same thing over in here. Like we just said, 4 months for the altcoin market, right? 3 months for Bitcoin. It's about 4.5 months there to match the exact amount of time that the last cycle took, and that the confluences are the same. So food for thought. But as for me, I find it incredibly amazing to see all these confluences happening of Bitcoin price behavior so far, the altcoin market hitting the same levels. Yes, the signal has flashed. However, over the last decade, that did flash the final correction before the last rally. And to have similar price behavior here, and then to see that similar price behavior showing up in the altcoin market, leaves me with some intriguing optimism for the months to come. Because if it does play out like 2017, if it does play out like 2021, then the next 3 to 4 months could be incredibly exciting. We're still waiting for that evidence to show up. The first thing, of course, we'd want to see is to see the altcoin market find some supports in here and then work its way up in here. If so, we're right on track. And man, 2024, let's go. So I hope you like that. I hope it gave you a little bit of a picture and the way I'm viewing the market. So when you tune in here, you get an idea of where my thoughts are at. It's not blind hopium. It's not blind bearishness. I'm always trying to look at data. I'm always trying to take in data points and then show those to you. And hopefully this gave you something to kind of think about and ponder. And of course, shout out to the man who was able to create this for Glassnode, TXMC. And on that note, we'll go ahead and start wrapping this thing up. Speaking of TXMC, we've been writing a joint newsletter that will be released tomorrow. I'm really excited about this one. We all know that developer activity and user activity has been a function of better performance in past cycles. But one other thing that typically happens in cycles outside of user activity levels, development levels, is sometimes there's narratives and sectors that do well. So we've gone through all of the hot sectors of the crypto market, compared them to see how they've been performing and what assets are actually in those different sectors. And that one will be released tomorrow. So if you're not subscribed to the newsletter over here, check out blockchainbacker.substack.com. The most recent one was going in depth over there on base and all the activity levels that are picking up there when it comes to development, trading, NFTs, DeFi, and etc. There's a clear trend emerging over there. If you subscribe to the newsletter, of course, you get access to all the past ones, along with all the audio recordings that come with them all. And then, of course, tomorrow we'll have the sector comparisons come out and what assets are in those sectors. So check this one out over here on blockchainbacker.substack.com. Of course, if you'd like videos, you could check out bcbacker.com for over 40 videos and 11 hours of content, deep diving into the historical behavior of the cryptocurrency market, teaching you how to set up your own charts and your own indicators within TradingView and CoinTrader Pro. There's a link down here in the description of this video to bcbacker.com and to the newsletter right there at blockchainbacker.substack.com. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful week. It will be a short week for me. I will be off Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. But otherwise, I'll catch you today and tomorrow. But all right, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.